Chapter 15. Oh, the unpredictability of life. I passed the days and weeks by keeping myself as busy as possible. I attended my weekly meetings, never leaving the hotel without a pep talk from Sylvia. Her words were always exactly what I needed to keep going. I increased my JKD workouts to 3 times a week and swam extra laps in the evenings. On my fishing days with Lee and Kate, I talked with them about Katya and finally told them of our feelings for each other, unsure of how the news would be received. Kate had immediately hugged me, and Lee slapped me on the back and said, "I knew it would finally happen between you two. I'm happy for you, brother." Lee and Kate never really liked Suzanne, and having their support now with Katya meant the world to me. Katya and I talked every night, sometimes for hours. There were long moments when we didn't even speak. We just let ourselves be together, even though there were miles between us. Sitting on the floor in Katya's dance studio, I closed my eyes and soaked in her essence. She'd been gone for a month and a half. You would think I would be better at missing her, but that just wasn't possible. I felt close to her in the studio, but truthfully, she was everywhere. There was no part of the house that I could enter and not see her in my mind. I really missed hearing her practicing, whether it was the piano or the cello or even rocking out on the drums. I missed the music because where there was music, there was my Katya. Occasionally, I sat at the piano and played when the silence of the house was overwhelming. Then the memories of our playing together would flood my thoughts, and the lonely ache would fill me anew. Stretching out my legs and crossing my ankles, I leaned back on my hands as memories of another life made their way to the surface, and I took a moment to ponder my marriage to Suzanne. I had loved her and was sure we were meant to be together, but once we were married, her true colors came through clearly, and though I had started feeling like I'd made the biggest mistake of my life by marrying her, I was determined to keep going, keep trying, hoping she would change. When Lila died and we got Katya, I again held to the hope that Suzanne would change. Then I finally realized that she had to want to change, and she hadn't wanted it enough. But going through all of it led me to Katya. Yes, I loved Suzanne, but when I compare it to what I now felt for Katya, there was no comparison, because loving Katya made me truly feel alive in so many ways. We knew each other so well that I was certain there was nothing we could not overcome. There was nothing I couldn't do as long as she was by my side. Sighing, I lay on the floor and closed my eyes, wishing I could talk to my father. Even after all these years, I still missed him, and I couldn't help wondering what he would think of Katya. He would love her, I was sure. He could not help it. "I know you would love her, Papa," I whispered. I had not talked to him in a long while, so I was surprised to hear his voice whisper to my mind, "I do love her, son." The comforting affirmation brought tears to my eyes. Then he said, "I am proud of you," and I wept. Katya called me the next afternoon. She was scheduled to come home in 2 weeks, and I ached to see her. "How are you today?" I asked her. "I'm okay." "You don't sound okay." And she didn't. "What's wrong, Duchesa?" "I need to come home early. I'm flying in tonight. Can you meet me?" "Of course I can. But what is it?" "I'll tell you when I come." "You've got me worried, babe." "I'm sorry, Angelo. It's not something I want to say over the phone. I really need to wait until I see you." The tears I heard in her voice made me anxious. "All right." I wrote down her flight number and the time. "Angelo?" "Yes." I love you. I love you too. I'll see you tonight. As I hung up the phone, numerous reasons for her early return raced through my mind. One possibility brought too much pain to even entertain the thought. Has she changed her mind about me? About us? I had managed to convince myself that I was just being paranoid about Katya not wanting to be with me, and if there was some other problem, we would face it together no matter what it was. But as I watched Katya walk through the security, the worrying returned with a vengeance. When she saw me, she rushed through the crowd and flung herself into my embrace. I again felt her trembling as I held her close. She moved her arms from my waist to my neck. Rising on her tiptoes, she held me tighter. Whatever was wrong, it was not us. At least I hoped it wasn't. I need you, Angelo, she whispered. I love you, and I need you. I'm here, Angel. I love you too, and I'm here. She finally drew back and quickly wiped her eyes. I took her hand and we went to get her luggage. She was wearing the ring, and it was beautiful on her hand. As we walked to the car, I was suddenly nervous and edgy. Not knowing what was going on was getting to me, but I did my best to exercise patience. Other than declaring how much we missed each other, the ride was mostly silent. When we got home, I took her luggage up to her room, and she followed. We sat on the bed, and I took her hand. Please tell me, Tesserina, what's wrong? Loosening one of her hands, she softly caressed my face. Then, instead of answering right away, she unzipped her suitcase and removed a large yellow envelope. It was a medical envelope that said test results and had her name printed on it. I immediately pressed a hand to my heart, totally unprepared for what she was about to tell me. I've been having irregular periods for a while. I forced my voice to cooperate. How long is a while? She hesitated. For a year now. My mind raced. So we will not be able to have children. If that is it, we will deal with it together. We can always adopt. You could have told me, Katya. You can tell me anything. I know, and I would have, but I read that sometimes it's normal. Sometimes there's also been a little pain in my stomach and back. I read that that could be normal too. And sometimes it isn't, I said gently. Did the doctors say you can't have children? She looked down for a moment. When she raised her eyes to mine, tears filled them and quickly streamed down her cheeks. No. Chapter 16, Bittersweet Merger. 3 weeks later. She was beautiful in her white gown. The silk lace and tulle were accented by winking crystals on embroidered roses and flowed over her petite figure. Her hair was piled high on her head, held in place with a crystal-beaded comb, and a few curly locks framed her face. She wore no veil, therefore there was nothing obstructing my view of her beautiful features. She looked like a princess. She was a princess to me. My tuxedo consisted of black slacks and a white jacket with a red bow tie and vest. Katya picked it out, and I was happy to let her. Truthfully, I couldn't care less what I wore. All I could think about was that she was really going to be mine. Of all the defining moments in my life, the one that would forever stand out as the third most prominent was the moment Katya spoke 4 words. Stage 4 ovarian cancer. Those 4 words changed everything. She had already been through the test, and when she got home, she went through another round the next day. The doctor said it was rare for a woman her age to have ovarian cancer, and because it had been growing in her body for so long, it was out of control. The cancer had spread from her ovaries to her liver and lymph nodes in her breast. We digested the prognosis. Then we had a choice to make. Katya could have surgery and treatments, granting her an extra month at the most, or enjoy the quality of life she had while she could. My sweet, brave Katya made her choice, accepting the fact that either way, the cancer would end her life. So she chose to live her life and enjoy all the time she had left with me. She would take supplements and continue to exercise for as long as she could. And when the pain worsened, she would manage it with medication. Neither she nor I could think past that. That evening, I told her I needed to be alone, and she let me. I went for a drive out to Cocoa Beach. I parked in an area that was not as populated and got out. Taking off my shoes, I walked the beach for an hour, trying to calm the anger that was eating my insides. I kept asking why. Why would God take her from me when we had only just discovered our love? I finally sat down on the beach and dried my face as I gazed out at the ocean and watched the waves roll inland to lap the shore before receding and repeating the process. After calming my thoughts, I apologized to God for my anger. I had no right to be angry because she was His before she was mine. That night we lay in my bed, holding one another and crying for the shortened life we would have together as man and wife. Katya couldn't stand the thought of leaving me alone, and it literally cut me up inside to think of losing her. I had only just realized my true feelings for her, and now I would have to face losing her. We cried for the children we secretly dreamed of, children that would never be ours. I never knew I could hurt so much. It was during this bout of pain that I finally kissed her for the first time. The kiss was sweet and pure, as a first kiss should be, but soon emotion, both raw and desperate, seeped into the kiss, and heat rolled through me as the scent and taste of her filled my senses. I reminded myself that this was all new to her, and in a sense it was new to me as well, because the passion that I felt at the feel of her mouth against mine invoked was a level I never reached before. I had never even been close. Having her in my arms was heaven. Exercising every bit of self-control I could muster, I parted my mouth from hers and just held her against my heart. Then we fell asleep. The following day, we dried our tears and drew courage to the surface, determined to face everything head on and enjoy the time we had together, which meant marrying as soon as possible. With Sylvia and Kate's help, we pulled the wedding together quickly. Now here I stood beneath the vine-covered Italian gazebo in our backyard, watching my bride slowly move down the white satin walkway on Lee's arm. All 150 chairs were filled, leaving me in awe of the support we'd received. No one had judged us when we announced that we were getting married. They were simply there for us. The only negativity we had gotten was from a longtime neighbor who felt it was her solemn duty to tell me how wrong it was to marry Katya and how much I disgusted her for taking advantage of such a young woman that way. Needless to say, she was not at the wedding, which was fine by me. Kimberly, Allison, and Denise also flew back to attend. When Katya and I first called the three and told them of our plans, each was a little subdued. But because they knew us well and had been a part of Katya's life for so long, they soon warmed to the idea of us marrying and were excited and supportive. All three had agreed to be bridesmaids, and they looked lovely in their yellow gowns. Sylvia, Kate, and Lee looked wonderful in their wedding attire as well. Sylvia and Kate were Katya's maids of honor. They were the only people privy to Katya's condition, and all three had tears trailing down their faces before the Reverend began to speak. I knew it was only a matter of time before our tears joined theirs. When Katya reached me, I took her hand in mine, never moving my eyes from hers. As we gazed at one another, it was as if we could see into each other's soul. I read her heart as clearly as she read mine. We finally turned to Reverend Sandler and he began. We are gathered here today in the sight of God to join Angelo and Ekaterina together in holy matrimony. As I stand here watching them together, I feel their love radiating around us, and I know that no two people were more meant for each other. He smiled at us, his eyes misty. Reverend David Sandler had been a friend of Papa's, and even though Papa and I never attended his church, he had always been good to us. Now Angelo and Ekaterina have written their own vows. The Reverend gestured for me to go first. Facing Katya, I held her hand against my chest, wanting her to feel how my heart beat for her. Katya, there are no words to describe what you mean to me. No words are good enough. You've brought such joy and happiness into my life. I love you so much. My heart can't hold it all. You are the air I breathe, and I promise to love, honor, and cherish you, and always be faithful to you, through the good times and the bad. My love for you is unconditional, Katya, and I promise you that my love will see you through clear skies and stormy days, no matter what comes. I will love you through it, forever and beyond. I swallowed hard, blinking tears onto my face. I wiped away the tears trailing down hers, feeling the love in her eyes branding every part of my face that her gaze fell upon. The Reverend prompted Katya and she began, Angelo, you have been everything to me for as long as I can remember. You have cared for me, sheltered me, and loved me. When I thought I had no one, you were there. She paused as a river of fresh tears came. And I know you always will be. I love you with all that I am. I promise to love, honor, and cherish you and always be faithful to you through the good times and the bad. My love for you is unconditional, Angelo, and I promise you that my love will see you through clear skies and stormy days. No matter what comes, I will love you through it, forever and beyond. Wiping his tears, Reverend Sandler continued, Angelo, do you accept Ekaterina as your lawfully wedded wife? I do, I answered firmly. Ekaterina, do you accept Angelo as your lawfully wedded husband? I do, she replied with equal firmness. We then exchanged rings. Mine was a wide platinum band and hers was a thinner one set with diamonds. By the power vested in me, I pronounce you, Angelo, and Ekaterina, husband and wife. Needing no prompting, I took Katya in my arms and whispered, I love you. She whispered that she loved me too, and we kissed, holding tightly to each other as I took in the second most prominent moment of my life. We quickly moved over to the reception area where we stood in front of an iron floral draped arbor and were congratulated, hugged, and wished well. Sylvia hugged us both for a long moment and said she couldn't be happier for her favorite couple in the world. Lee and Kate quickly followed. The band was playing one of our favorite songs, and I led Katya up to the large square platform for a dance. There were several couples swaying around us, but we were in our own little world. Katya gazed around for a moment, taking in the beautiful decorations surrounding us, before returning her eyes to mine. Happy? I asked. She smiled, the warmth of her gaze heating me to the core. Extremely. So am I. Thank you, Angelo. This is the best wedding day I could have asked for. Everything is perfect. You are perfect, I said, kissing her. She closed her eyes, resting her brow against my chin, and I held her closer. We danced through another song before heading to the bride and groom table to eat. The food was catered by the hotel restaurant and was perfect as always. Because ours was a traditional Italian wedding dinner, there were 12 courses starting with the antipasto appetizers and ending with a beautiful Italian wedding cake made to Katia's specifications. There were plenty of food choices to satisfy everyone. No alcohol was served because neither of us wanted it, but the sparkling cider flowed freely and the guests seemed content with that. We were toasted throughout the meal, receiving various wishes for a happy marriage, long life, and many children. Katia and I simply smiled at one another, silently speaking words of love and encouragement through our shared gaze. Yes, we were sad to know that some of the wishes were not possible, but we wouldn't let it get us down. This was our day. Our hearts were wrapped in love, and we were warmed by the knowledge that we would belong to each other forever. Since Sylvia, Lee, and Kate were taking care of the reception cleanup responsibilities, they informed us that they were taking all the leftovers as an incentive. We finally left our guests and went into the house to change for our trip. We were going to Mackinac Island for our honeymoon. Katia's favorite movie was still Somewhere in Time, and she was ecstatic about spending our honeymoon in the place it was filmed. It was only because there was a cancellation that we were able to get into the Grand Hotel. Most reservations were done well in advance for this time of year, and as luck would have it, the room I reserved was a suite. Katia's things were now moved in with mine, but we changed in separate rooms, which only increased our anticipation of finally giving ourselves to one another. I put our luggage in the trunk, and an hour later we drove off amid cheers and farewells and headed to the airport.